Hey there, and welcome to painting the O-Yoroi twins. So first up, I'm going to start with the flesh, just blocking in the fleshy bits, and I'm going to start one dark and one light so that I get skin variation, so that whoever ends up in the red dress ends up with the light skin, and whoever ends up in the white dress ends up with the dark skin, so that there's a nice bit of contrast between the flesh and the clothing. There you have it then, flesh all blocked in. On the left I've been using just a straight model colour dark flesh, and on the right I've mixed a bit of heavy brown, about 1 part heavy brown to 2 parts dark flesh, just using the dregs from the dark flesh, and that's given me the dark skin tone that I want. So next up, I'm just going to run an ink over these before I start blocking stuff in, so I'll get that done, I'll be back in a moo. It's just that I want to knock the skin back before bringing it light again, or lighter again. Yeah, then the flesh tones just darkened up a bit, knocked back with the ink. Also a bit of definition created so you can see some of the details in the face and such forth, so that when you start picking stuff out later, you've got those details revealed and you're not having to worry about ruining anything else. So next up I'm just going to be base coating, and I'm going to do all of the sort of clothing. On the one on the left I'm going to do it all in the warm grey, and that's going to be the basis for a basically red uniform with white details. And then on the one on the right I'm going to base coat everything up in the blue grey, and that's going to be the basis for everything essentially being white with red details. So I'm just inverting the colours, and also it means that if I get another O-Yoroi at any point, rather than it being a red O-Yoroi, it'll be a white O-Yoroi with red patterning. So it's just I'm just trying to think ahead of consistencies and stuff that I like and how I want to see it done. So we'll get these back to you in just a second. So as you can see, I've got these all greyed up. I really find it quite interesting when you put these side by side as well. It's probably a bit sad of me, isn't it? But what the hey. It's just interesting because it really shows that colour and tone are two very different things, because tonally these are the same, and although on camera they look very different because of the colour, when you look at them from a distance they actually look virtually identical. It's very difficult to tell them apart tonally, and it's really interesting to me, sort of going by also how the eye works, where your eye detects silhouette, then it detects light and shade, then it detects colour. So silhouette is form, light and shade is like grayscale, if you like, black and white vision, and colour is always the final thing you see. And I find it kind of mad how colour makes a massive difference. But either way, that's just me blathering on. Next step is to start applying red and white, but well, maybe white. I'm going to highlight everything up first to some extent, so I'm going to start putting create differentiation in this layer, and then I'm going to knock it back with, in the case of Lady O-Yoroi on the left, just a straight up game colour gory red. I'll apply it very thin. I might even water it down again, so it might even come out a bit pinky at first, but it's because I want all the highlighting that I do on this layer to actually show through clearly. And then on the right, although this is ultimately going to end up white, I'm probably going to start running in the white, and then I will use a similar process, but I'll use a very thin black ink just to knock it back a touch and to get enhance the shadows in the creases and gaps. So I'll crack on with that and I'll be back in a moo. There you go then, whites are applied. So as you can see on the right I have pretty much whited out the entire fabric as such, so it's just leaving the blue grey in the depths. And this is because this is ultimately going to be a white dress. And on the left I've just sort of done key line around the edges, highlight edges if you like, and this is because I just want this to act as a highlight for once I put red over the top, just so I'm sort of toning the red paint that goes over the top. Hence I'm going to do it very thin. I don't mind if this ends up slightly on the pinky spectrum, because I can then strengthen up areas of red where I want there to be deeper shade. So there is the red applied on the left hand side over the warm grey, and the very thin black ink applied on the right over the cold grey / white. I think it's come out okay. I'm gonna use the black ink and run it over the left hand side just because I want to draw out a whole load of the details and make them really easily visible, and that's going to be the easiest way for me to create enough definition to be able to really clearly see how to highlight. So get that done, and then I will be on to just blocking in all of the sort of pistol scabbards and hair. I'll do the scabbards, swords, pistol all in dark grey, and I think I'm going to do the hair in dark blue first, so it ends up as sort of a nice blue-black for the hair tone. So first of all, I'll get the black ink done, and I will be back with you once I've got the scabbards all put in. There you have it then, the weapons are all greyed in. I've also applied the black ink over the red. It just brings out a little bit of definition and gives some depth to it. I have seen people using blue ink washes on red to really good effect. Blue seems to be a very good colour for that, partly because of the blue-red contrast, which is a kind of familiar thing, you know, like the blue corner, red corner in boxing or what have you. But also in terms of blue recedes, so it's always good to shade with blue or pop purple, violet kind of colours. But because I don't like wastage, basically, I'm using the dregs of the black ink that I used, or that I watered down and used for the other one. And part of what I'm doing is about conservation, because, you know, materials are pretty expensive. I don't have infinite of them, so I need to make optimal use. Also, at the moment, you'll find that I'm using a lot of repeat colours, and that's because I'm painting the JSA stuff. And when I shift over to other armies, I'll be moving on to other paints. So hopefully, I'll get through all of these guys, and I won't have to run out of any colours. I don't think I will, because I started with fresh paints beforehand. So next up, I'm going to paint the hair blue, and then I'll apply a black ink to the blue hair, but also to all of the pistols, scabbards and the swords. And then that will be the base coating complete. So I'll get on with that and I'll show you when it's done. One quick look at them with the blue and purple applied to the hair then, just so you can actually see what they look like before the black ink is applied. This is more just a before and after shot, so you can see the difference it makes, because the guy that taught me how to paint on canvas, on flat, one of the things he said to me, which always stuck with me as seeming pretty important, is sort of anybody can be the artist that makes the image and gets it right, but the test of the artist is when you get things wrong, can you bring it back? So sometimes when you paint colours like this and you're like, oh my god, what have I done? It's like, don't worry about it. Take like a dark ink or a dark paint and like knock it back, or drag a highlight over the top of it, and then like a muted highlight, like a grey colour rather than an exuberant bright colour. Use something else to knock the colour back and just see what happens. And you can always obliterate it and paint it black if you want, but you never know. And quite often you might find that in fact the colour that you generate is richer, more interesting, and it makes for a better paint job. Also with these guys, you'll note that I changed my mind again, and rather than both having blue hair, the one on the right has purple hair, so blue and red make purple, right? So you introduce the red to the blue, and that means that you've got the hair, which is on the warmer end of the spectrum with the white clothes, and you've got the blue, which is the colder end of the spectrum. So it's all sort of inverting. So if you like, the red head, the purple hair in this case, goes with the opposite of the dress colour. And this is again just to keep them as twin-like as I can without actually, I don't know, making them look the same. So, you know, twins, different perspectives of the world, even though they may be identical twins even, so they're absolutely identical in terms of appearance, but they'll still be different people. And so twins often look similar, not the same. And that's kind of what I'm trying to go for here and really emphasise. So next up I'll apply the black ink and then we'll be done for the day. There you go then, base coating is done, and I have no idea why the hair on the left hand side one has come out shiny, but not shiny on the right hand side one. I've got a funny feeling it's something to do with the undercoats, because I do remember the undercoat on the left hand one for whatever reason went shiny rather than matte. Oh, or gloss, sorry, if you want to be particular and get it right. Whereas the one on the right, the undercoat went matte, but I don't understand why that would have an effect later. But that's just how it goes. So there you go, that's what the blue hair looks like and the purple hair looks like when it's sort of been inked up, along with all of the swords and details. These guys are sort of ready to start moving into the, not really the highlighting phase, but the sort of the, I don't know, I always think of it as base coating, highlighting, right? So there's three basic stages. You undercoat, or you prime, undercoat, base coat, and then highlight. So priming and undercoating to me are pretty much synonymous. I don't really differentiate between the two. It's just chucking some paint on to get it well, priming is the layer for the paint to stick to. Undercoat is like the first chunks of colours that you chuck on. Base coat is like the basic painting, whereas this I suppose would be somewhere between undercoat and base coating, where it's like I'm working in some basic tonality, which is what I want in the first stage of painting, right? Basic tonality, the colour range, to bring out all the details on the miniature so I can see it clearly, so that when I am moving on to the next phase, I know what I'm doing with colour and shade and tone. And this means that the next phase for me is sort of base coating / highlighting, where it's introducing colours into all of the right places now that I can see the miniatures clearly, applying the sort of highlights, like the white on the right hand one is very sort of grubby at the moment and I really want to bring that out, and I'll do that by applying white carefully to all of the different areas again so that it lightens it back up again, but it will be smoother and neater. Also in both cases introducing details, so reds to the one on the right, whites to the one on the left. Pulling out details, any glowing stuff, deal with their scabbards. The scabbards I think are probably going to be like faded to dark green at the tip, because that would kind of match in with O-Yoroi with the green glow. The reason I'm using the green glow is because normally red and white are the JSA with sort of a blue glow, but because I did my ninja with, or my Oniwaban, sorry, the chief ninja, with the green inner glow thing going on, I want to run that through the whole army, so it'll be green glowing eyes etc. on suits of power armor or what have you, and I'll keep that being reflected in things like the scabbards. So I'm trying to bind the whole army together in the way that I paint the colour schemes, even if it is a diverse and varied colour, sort of colour versions of the colour schemes. So I hope it's been of some interest, use to you, and you're enjoying whatever it is you're painting, and that you're painting something awesome. Thank you for watching, have a good one and take care. Bye bye.